You know security is hard, so let's assume we're probably gonna get pwned by noon. But if we all start to get the basics right, we might not fully get pwned until tonight. All right, good afternoon. Let me do let's see. Akutastic says, let's go. I'm going to say, I agree. And also, hey, hello, DF. Sound check 1, 2, 3. I made the mistake of unplugging a bunch of stuff and then replugging it moments ago, like any good podcast host. And so if you don't hear me, if it's just a poorly dubbed foreign movie or something, no, foreign movie you can hear. Carl, thank you. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. I just need to let you know a little bit of personal news that nobody asked for and stuff, but I like to just share stuff anyway. I am admittedly a bit frantic and discombobulated today because my wife had a knee replacement surgery yesterday. That was wild, and certainly in an upcoming episode, I'll do a tangent about that. But she's doing okay, but it's kind of an intense recovery, especially the first couple of days. So there's lots of icing to do and medications to administer what feels like every 15 minutes. And so the I'm a little bit more seat of my pants than I would have hoped to be. But what I want to do is just I'm going to cut right to the excuse me. I'm going to cut right to the stuff. I've got my screen shared. Um, and this is going to be kind of a tale of Pentest Pwnage in a blender, because really what I want to do is show you a couple of key things that have gotten me a handful of Pentest wins like in the last year. So this is not like a tale of from point A to, enumerate, blah, blah, blah. This is the end of the story. Kind of a tips and tricks potpourri episode for you. Two things very specifically I want to show you. So I'm going to kind of keep it short and sweet, but certainly if you have questions, comments, concerns, drop them in the chat and I'll keep checking in on that. But again, thanks for joining me. And let me tell you, let's start with, so I want to tell you about an oldie but a goodie that I ran into recently. That is something I've talked about many times on the podcast, but I think when stuff still comes up repeatedly, it's worth mentioning again and again. And that is on an internal pen test, I get some questions about, hey, do you still run Ping Castle or do you run Purple Knight or Bloodhound or this and that? Me personally, I'm still starting with a Ping Castle run. So I'm just going to do that real quick so that I can point out this oldie but a goodie. And by the way, Ping Castle you can just get from pingcastle.com. I'm always trying to ride that line between I don't want to assume anybody knows anything about anything because I know very little about everything, but I also don't want to totally go through the setup, whatever. Bottom line, this is very easy to install. You really just hit the free download, you unzip the zip like I did. And then all I'm going to do is, for some reason, not be able to click into. There we go. It just took a spell. I'm going to go to command prompt. Let me crank up the font a bit, and that's not working either. And that's fine. I'm not going to get rattled by it because a lot of things are not working fine right now. Like for instance, I just resized this window, and I click OK, and I can't click OK. Does the keyboard work? It does. Okay, let me try one more time. How about just a little bit? Oh, I can tab it, but I can't. And that still doesn't seem to be making it bigger, but let's just go with it so I can show you pingcastle.exe. I'm going to run just a basic health check on the network here. If you're on a domain joined machine, Pingcastle should be smart enough to say, hey, are we looking over here at tangent.town? Whoops. Oh, I've got like hold on, let me try this. I think what I've got is some sort of like full screen alignment problem. Oh, that's better. Let me just try the zoom one more time. That was kind of funky. It's like it wasn't. Oh, better. If you're on a non-domain joined machine and doing a run as command prompt where you run as the cred that the company gave you for a test, you will likely need to feed that here. It'll probably just say, I don't really know what you want me to test. So you'll just type in the domain. But in this case, it knows what we want. So I'm just going to hit enter. And what I wanted to point out, again, it is old vulnerability, old news, but still relevant. I staged my tangent town domain here to have this vulnerability, but I'm going to open up the ping castle report. I'm going to go right to anomalies, and let's see, is there a place to jump down to that? Well, maybe I'll just do anom. 2, 3, there we go. It's this one, the old MS14025, where passwords are stored in group policy objects in such a way that they're very easily decryptable. I won't go too far into it because we've covered it several times, but I want to use it as kind of a launch pad for a bit more discussion. So what we found in this case, Pingcastle has identified that in the GPO called SMB signing, maybe you all have great eyes. I don't, so I'm just going to zoom in. In the GPO called SMB signing, there is a decryptable credential. Actually, I will. I don't know what the GUID of that is. Yeah, I'll kind of just keep going. But there is a username and a decryptable password of some sort of account right in a group policy object. So it's from my experience, it hasn't always been clear based on this information. Is this a local account that lives on one or more systems? Or is this a domain level account? One super easy way to find out and then go in the right direction accordingly is just open up the group policy. Open up Active Directory users and computers. And I'll just do a quick find for anything that starts with 7MS. So there's no accounts here that even start with 7MS. So based on this information, my thought is 7MS Help Desk is a local account that lives on one or more systems. So to quickly find where those might be, I'm going to just SSH into my Kali box. Now this lab here, this is all self-contained in the 10.0.7.x. Just one subnet, very, very simple, very small. And I have a Kali box at 7.7, I think, because of course, where else would you put a box like that? Okay, let me just try to keep everything visible at one time if I can without, maybe it's annoying. Maybe I won't do it next time, but I tried to have the little lower third. Is that what professionals call it? Of what episode it is and what we're doing. Just so if somebody comes across this and is like, what are they talking about? It gives them some idea. Anywho, clear that off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call my friend crackmap exec, which I won't go into too much either, but it's on GitHub. You can download it and install it for free. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to call the SMB protocol. I am gonna spray the whole 10.0.7 network. So that means I'm hitting 10.0.7.1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 254 with the cred that I just found. And I'm not sure if I put that in my clipboard or not. So I'm going to go tech U7MS help desk. I'm going to do P of that password. Had a question last time. Why put it in single quotes? Do you need to do that? You don't. My experience has been if the password, and maybe they ironed this out, but if the password has funky characters like dollar signs and things, sometimes crackmap exec then does not actually pass the correct password. So this is just a old habits die hard situation where I put it in single ticks. And just as kind of a reminder, I had another tester reach out to me recently having problems getting this credential that he knew it had to work somewhere. It wasn't working anywhere. And it's because he was launching crackmap exec just like you see it on my screen. So if I hit enter, I'll just let it rip for the heck of it. It may not be totally apparent, but with the parameters we just fed crack map exec, it assumes that we 124. Oh, okay. It assumes that that we are trying to authenticate with a domain account. And if you remember, we were just in here. There is no domain account called 7ms help desk. So I'm going to rerun the same command and I'm going to add local tac auth. So this tells crackmap exec, try to authenticate against the local user database of any system you hit. And then let's see if our creds are good. So let's try that. And goody gumdrops, check out down here. On the IT box, 7ms help desk is a local admin. Now, kind of in many past tales of Pentest Pwnage, if you've listened to any of those, whenever I see that, one of the very next things I'll do is I will, in fact, I'll just do it right now. Let's see, can I cancel this? Oh, it's done. So let me narrow my scope to be just that TTIT01 machine. IT01. Let's see. Yeah, tangent. I can't remember if my DNS resolution is going to work right. Okay. So I authenticated to TTIT01. I am 7ms help desk. Here's my password. The little green plus means it worked. The yellow pwned means it's a local admin. That's awesome. So what you could do right from here, rerun the same command and do something like SAM, and you could dump all the other local users and their hashes and then pass those. We don't really need to do that here because we are already a local admin. Another thing I might do is turn on the wdigest flag so I could come back later to TTIT01 and maybe dump more important passwords like domain admin accounts and stuff like that. What I'm finding, and I'm curious, please feel free to comment if you've found this to be the case as well. I'm finding that endpoint protection, the Sentinel ones of the world, the CrowdStrikes, the what have Cortex, those kind of things, they're getting super smart about intercepting and blocking altogether SAM dumps, the secrets dump utility. Even if I do manage to like set the wdigest flag, it's so hard, from my experience anyway, to get a good LSAS dump that doesn't get detected mid-flight by EDR and shut down. So, especially when a customer wants, stealth to be more of the name of the game. What I've been doing lately is just like a straight RDP connection into the target box with these credentials. Or if I'm afraid that multi-factor is in use for RDP, sometimes what would happen if this was a real pen test, I would just, open up remote desktop, right? I'd go TTIT01. And then when I put in creds, I would actually feed it this credential down here, right? So it'd be localhost, 7ms help desk, and then that big long password. Okay. Hit OK. RDP starts to fire. And then if they've got something like Duo or another multi-factor tool in place, sometimes the RDP will complete, but more and more, especially over this last maybe year and a half, I'll get a message from Duo or whatever the multi-factor is, and it'll say, sorry, this user is not enrolled in multi-factor. Go talk to your IT admin. And then you can be potentially kind of stuck a little bit. However, what I've found, I don't, and actually I'm trying to think, I don't exactly know how to protect it except to shut it off. But on Windows servers anyway, I've found that the WinRM, kind of the PowerShell remoting connection, that is open and that will work single factor style. So what you could do is, in fact, maybe I'll just open up, just open up ISE just because I don't know, the white background for me with something like this is just a little easier to read. Let's see, do I still have that password in my clipboard? I do. So I might do does this look? Oh, it doesn't look too bad. All right, so I might do something like this. Enter PS session, and then I say computer name TTIT01, and then if I just do this, like just straight up, what that's going to try to do is just pass through my credentials. But I'm kind of a nobody here on my box. I am student one. Student one is just like a basic user account. I'm logged into a Windows 10 desktop, and I don't have any real influence around the environment. So that makes sense that my error here is access is denied. Really, it's saying you're not a domain admin and you're not a local admin of TTIT01. You're done. But we have that working local admin cred that we can use instead. So I'm going to do same thing again, and I'm going to do credential. And I think you can feed the username and password here somewhere, but I'm lazy and forgetful, so I just put a star, because then what will happen is that Windows will prompt for what cred I want to use. So I'm going to say local host, shoot, what was it called? 7MS help desk, 7MS, whoop. Type it on the right screen, 7MS help desk. That. And then, oh, we get this big, small novella of red text. I might have covered this on a Tale of Pentest Pwnage. This is definitely in, insert shameless self-promotion here. This is definitely in the Light Pentest Light training course that we cover. And I put it in the course because I ran into this on a pen test and it frustrated me for hours. Because if you read through all the reasons that the PowerShell remoting session didn't work, it could be one of like 60 things. It could be like there's too much precipitation in your neighborhood. There's way too little wind out. You're thirsty, you're hungry, the creds are bad. 50 different things. I kind of ran through them all. And what I found out, at least for my particular problem, is that my computer was not set up to trust the outbound connection to TTIT01. So kind of like, and maybe I'm wrong on this, you can correct me in the chat if I'm totally off my rocker. I like to think of it how you're about to SSH into a Linux host, and maybe it's for the first time, and it's like, hey, here's the key information. Are we fine with this? Do you feel good about this? You hit yes, and then the connection goes. In my mind, that's kind of what's happening with PowerShell here, except it's not offering you to go ahead and connect. It's just like, whoa, there's something's foreign here, and I don't trust where we're about to go. So I'm just going to give you one of 17 excuses as to what went south. So I'm going to get a command prompt open, and I'm going to show you at least the way I got around this. And you do need to be able to do this as a, I'm just going to feed domain admin creds, but you do need to do this as a local admin. And password. Is it that? It is that. Okay. Oh, I thought you could go control scrolly wheel to get stuff blown up a little bit. How does that look? Is that decent? That's decent. Okay, I'm going to copy and paste because I don't really like typing. Here's the WinRM command that I found will help in your, come on, work with me. Here we go. Use the WinRM command here to set your trusted host lists to include TTIT01. On a pen test where I'm going to be maybe doing this to a bunch of different boxes, you can also feed asterisks here and kind of tell your computer, hey, I'm okay with going ahead and connecting to anything over PowerShell remoting if the creds are right. So I'm going to run that, and then you'll see a little feedback screen. Trusted hosts. We now trust TTIT01. And nobody asked, and I don't particularly concern myself, but I can't remember if I wanted to do like multiple hosts. Can I do something like that? Okay, let me just try it just because I like tangents and I like trying things randomly. Let me go back to here and let me get that credential copied in my clipboard. I think a comma separated list would work, but we'll find out shortly. Localhost 7ms help desk, password of that. Boom, and we're in. Okay, so you see the little TTIT01 in brackets? That means we're PowerShell remoted into this system. And now, because we have local admin, we can fully explore. Fully explore it. So what I have found on the last few pen tests, and I don't have commercial software to like show this to you or replicate this to you. But when I've been able to, oh, I know where I was going with this. I'm sorry. So what I've been able to do sometimes, if RDP is on all of the existing like local and domain account logins, what I've been able to do sometimes is use the net use command to make a new local admin, and I set the credential. And it's not every time, because there must be something with the duo config that is like, if any user created, I don't know, force duo enrollment or something. But by creating a new vanilla user, then I can RDP directly into TTIT01 and look through things in the GUI, which is just going to be a little bit faster. But the big win that I've gotten several times over the past year or so is if you can get local admin to say a like a vCenter console, or a console that has the main commercial backup software, that typically if you hit it from another machine, like from this machine, you would need to feed it a domain cred. What I found is that by you just being logged in as a local admin of the backup mothership itself, hit the URL or hit a lot of times I see just shortcuts right on the desktop for everybody, Bob's backup system, whatever it's called. Double click it, the link opens, and often the creds are just passed through, and the software recognizes that you are a local admin, and then you can see all of the backups. Now, if you do, I don't know kind of your rules of engagement or personal rules of engagement on a pen test. I find though that I get really nervous if I'm going to like go into a backup job and restore information, even though a lot of times you got to go about 20 steps and say, I want to restore from last night's 3 a.m. backup. I want to put it on a local C drive. There's something that gives me the squinched colon a little bit about accidentally restoring to current location. So what I look for first, personally, when I do see the console to a backup system, is I look to see where those backup snapshots are, and if the software itself will allow you to just mount that snapshot. And if it does, it's just a beautiful, beautiful thing. I kind of hate when people do the, kind of that chef's whatever kiss thing, but it is that when you can mount last night's Exchange, Active Directory, file server, whatever. Mount last night's backup, attach it as the X drive on your backup host there, and then just via Windows Explorer, take whatever you want. That is really neat, because that's nothing that's going to upset EDR. That's nothing that's going to upset really the SIM. I mean, it all just looks like a sysadmin doing above board sysadmin things. So, I guess the short tip to a long explanation was, when you get that local admin cred of any kind, check all the boxes. If you can, log into them, right? And just understand what they have installed on them, understand what they do, because you might get that pass through superpower that gets you to, rip out the Active Directory database and just pass the hashes or crack them all or whatever without even sounding a single alarm. But I wanted to continue that thought and talk about a situation where I was, let's see, I don't know if it, well, maybe I can just do it just so the visual makes sense. Let's say that with this credential, I did do, I'm going to go right into, yeah, TTIT01. I got to make sure to feed it the right credential. So localhost 7ms help desk, and there's my password. Yep, I'll log into the IT box here, and and I was in kind of a situation that I just described. So let's just pretend, for the sake of fun, that whatever that's sitting right on the local admin desktop is, shortcut to super important uh, backup stuff. Oh, actually, you know what? I take that back. Hold on. I think I I think I put in a fake important file for us to exfiltrate. Yeah, let me in there. Desktop. There we go. Okay, here's my. Uh, just go with me. Just pretend this is us. We've logged in as a local admin, right? We've crawled the C drive and we've found, holy shnikes, there's a script that does a backup of the Active Directory database right here. Okay, if I'm on a pen test, I do, I'll just show you. I do something like this. Make this a small window. Okay, come over to our box here. And here's what I do. Make dir share. Oh, sudo guang guang. Okay, and I do something like this. Whoops, hold on. I used to, okay. Yeah, we're good. I run, whoops. I do opt in packet secrets. No, sorry. I almost typed sex samples. Sorry about that. It's a family program. SMB server. I do SMB2 support, and I create a share off of the root folder called share. So you see that? I just made an empty directory just to store stuff. Okay, so I'm going to fire that up. Okay, this is saying, cool, the SMB share is open. So let me see if I can, just to kind of show you what this would look like. Then from the box I'm logged into, let me just open up another Windows Explorer. And then I'm just going to browse to double backslash the IP of Kali box. Okay, so Kali on the right is 10.0.7.7. I'm over here remoted into IT01 as local admin. So the reason I do this, oops, let's see. Oh, cannot access 10.0.7.7. Okay, hold on. What did I do wrong here? It did work, but it didn't. I did do SMB2 support. Okay, I've got something wonky, but it's okay. I actually don't want it to work. Normally what it would do is it would just pop up the folder, the SMB share that I had, and I would just copy what I want onto the Kali box. Easy peasy. On a recent test, I went to do what I just showed you, and there's a security setting, some of you probably know about it, that says, like, essentially, hey, you know what? I'm not going to open up this SMB share because I think it is a guest access share. Or in other words, I think what the main complaint is it can tell it's not a domain joined workstation, doesn't trust it because of that, and therefore doesn't mount the share. So then I'm stuck where I want to, like, steal a file. In this case, I'd love to just grab ntds.dit and take it with me, but I'm having problem with that SMB to SMB copy. Now I know there's, probably a bunch of other quick and easy ways to take this, but also on the back end, I was already, if I can bring this up again, I already had a PowerShell session here to IT01, and I thought, well, yeah, couldn't I just do like copy or copy item, and then just, feed the path of the ntds.dit and feed it my UNC path? That will work if that SMB connection is trusted, but it was failing for me. It didn't it didn't work. So I did a little bit of research and found that you can, if you want to, you can do the actual transmission, the exfiltration, the stealing of data. You can do that directly via that PowerShell connection. So the reason I think it's cool is it's not using PowerShell to kick off an SMB transfer. It's actually doing it through this transport channel that's already open. There's probably 17 different ways to do this, but I'm just going to show you the way that ended up working for me. Okay. So I'm actually going to exit this for a minute. I'm going to clear my screen and make sure that looks semi-readable. It does. So here's the way that I learned that went kind of slick. So, oh, and by the way, you do a lot of this for those of you who are maybe in the getting pen test cert part of your life. I mean, who isn't, I guess, but I don't know what I'm talking about. The certified red CRTP, certified red team professional from, is it Altered Security / Pentester Academy? We do a lot of what I'm just going to show you in it. And I'm finding, I loved learning this because it wasn't handy at the time, but here it is years later. It's handy now, where you actually kind of create a PowerShell session, but you just store it for later use as a variable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a variable to ses or session, and I'm going to say new PS session, computer, name, TTIT01, and just like before, credential of blah, so that I can feed it the credential that I want. Remember, we figured out we were local admin here, so I'm going to serve 7ms help desk, and then this password. And you'll notice this time, just the prompt returned with nothing. But if we want to sanity check our work that this session saving worked, we can do this. Enter PS session space sesh. Wong, and there we are. Okay. In TTIT01. So let me exit one more time. And then I'm going to show you what I found out is you can use, and please, if you in the chat, if you look at this and you go, Brian, there's 12 other easier ways to do this. Paste it, please share with me, share with others. But anyway, this maybe wasn't beautiful, but it got the job done. So I did copy item, and then this is where I would feed the full path of the file on the victim. This is the file on TTIT01 that I want to steal. So, because I'm not in the active session, autocomplete is going to autocomplete my own file hierarchy. So, you might have to do something like this, right? Sort of double window it and be like, what's the path that I want? Or, why don't we just make it easy on ourselves? Let's just do that. That probably makes a little bit more sense. Copy item, pasty, pastaroo, and then it was called ntds.dit, right? Okay. To destination, and this is where I think, to me, it made my mind go backwards, because it's like, I want to copy from the victim to me. So this next part is somewhere on my hard drive. So just to make it easy, let's see, I'm not a local admin, so I'm going to go student one, because that's me, desktop ntds.dit. But then it's like, well, wait a minute, where do you specify that session called sesh, right? That we created up here? It's still there. We just have to call it. So in fact, maybe just for easier reading, why don't I just put this up here? Then I think you might be able to see better. It's actually not that much better. Okay. But just so you can see the whole thing left to right. Copy item, and then the full path to the item that I want to steal. Destination, where do you want to save it? I want to save it to my desktop. And then the last part is from session called session. And then Beyblades, let it rip. And as you can see, I guess it's not maybe an accurate file copy status window. Maybe there's a way in PowerShell to get that to work. And if you know how to get that to work, let me know. But really, I don't care. I just want to look at my desktop, and I want to see pretty little maids all in a row. AKA I want to see the ntds.dit file get there. And I guess if we're super patient, it'll get there. There it is. There's that backup file. And I know, just for the sake of realism, I know some of you are going to say, wait a minute, Brian, if you get the ntds.dit file, you also need some registry files. I get it. You're right. But just for the sake of showing all this, I wanted to keep it simple. But there you go. That whole transmission, my understanding, went over that PS session. So it didn't, right? It didn't come to us via SMB. It came to us directly over the session. So that's pretty cool. Maybe I will, I don't know necessarily if anybody cares, but I will. Well, no, this will probably be in tomorrow's episode show notes if you need it. So you can grab it there. Okay. And then, oh my gosh, I really thought that was not going to take very long, but boy, when you get on the Tangent Town train, stuff takes a while. Last thing I want to show you that is a little bit, well, it's staged to look like the environment that I came across. But I wanted to talk a little bit about PowerShell and secure strings and how they're maybe not as, well, they're not as secure as they look. I learned, but also, disclaimer alert, I'm not good with the secure strings and the storing of credentials. So what I'm about to show you, I think, will, number one, help you offensively if you come across this kind of stuff on a pen test. But defensively, I need to do some homework because I get asked from clients sometimes, you know, how do I securely store a credential in something that's going to be PowerShell-y? A lot of times on pen tests, we find right in plain PS1 files, we see plain text creds. But what I came across in this particular instance, again, this is like a TV dramatization. Okay, so this is not verbatim, but this is very close. When I did my SMB enumeration with a tool like PowerHunt Shares, I found the, let's see, ITO1, let's go there. In the ITO1 server, or let's just pretend this is kind of the general share drive, you know, the P drive or the S drive that a company has. I always spend a bunch of time looking through that for gems. I do things as simple as star pass star to look for files that have the word pass in them. And I gotten some chuckles and groans in the past about that comment. But I also say you'd be surprised, or maybe you wouldn't if you've done pen testing a while, how many clear text creds you find in a password.txt, password.doc, passwords.xls without a password attached to it. So I do look for that. Also, I've talked in the past about how there's a product called Copernic Desktop Search, not a sponsor, but I'd like them to be, that you can install on your Pentest Windows box and point it at, like, you could feed it actually this whole share or multiple shares, and it'll take a while, but it'll do a full metadata extraction, OCR, so that you can, you know, maybe by the next day, go into the Copernic search and get Google-like searching of any of those file troves that you pointed Copernic at. But in this particular case, what I found was a folder that looks something like this. There was files that caught my eye, files with the word password in them, and a PowerShell script that was edited fairly recently that was like, okay, I gotta see what's in this thing. And maybe I'll zoom out a little bit. But yeah, maybe can I just back off? Whoops. Let me just back off. Whoop. Careful. Stupid magic mouse with your sensitive right button. No, just a little, just a titch. That's fine. That'll be fine. It looked something like this. It was a file that indicated the management of secure backups. So I got kind of salivating a little bit when I saw that the script referenced a user, referenced a password file, and I was like, oh, you know, giggity sauce. Let's go have a look at that. Password.txt. Okay. And then it was, you know, this long string here, which I already told you, You can't be mad at me. I already told you I don't really know what I'm doing a lot of times when it comes to PowerShell. But of course, I tried IT admin plus this long string. Didn't work. Okay, so I kept reading and I said, okay, there's a key file set to this key. So if we look there, there's that. And if we open that up, that's also going to look not incredibly helpful. But let's take a look anyway. Okay, all that AES business. And then setting a variable to be the content of the key file. So the content of AES.key. And then this was the interesting part. It's making a variable, a credential variable. And what it's doing is making a variable out of the user, which we already know is tangent IT admin. So user, comma, and then for the password, it's doing this. Get the content of the password file and convert it to a secure string using the key of key, which is the AES.key. So I was like, all right, that sounds pretty rad. Let me, I think I was doing this via PowerShell remoting. So I'm just going to run it locally as if we've remoted into this box. So, and again, I'm going to talk you through this exactly how I went through it, which is, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm pretty sure, there's a way to get whatever this credential is. So it's like, okay, let's run this script. Okay, cool. So if I look at, well, what is my credential? The credential is username of IT admin and then the password of secure string, some Frankenstein combo of that password txt and AES.key. So then I went looking on Google for, I just feel like kind of a bonehead sharing it, but I don't care. The imposter syndrome is real sometimes, but sometimes enough imposter syndrome plus enough curiosity plus not enough caffeine plus lack of sleep equals you figure it out. So what and I don't have my source article here. I'm pretty sure it came off of Spiceworks or Stack. What is it? Stack Overflow Exchange. It said, well, here, try the following decrypt command. And I wish I could walk you through this and tell you what all this means. All I can tell you is it's on a lot of blogs. Okay, that's your cryptography lesson for the day. But it says run this command, and at the very end of it, specify the variable that you want to decrypt would go here. So I was like, okay, freaking sweet. So, the last part of the script is it's forging a variable called my credentials. So heck yeah, let's put in my credential and let that go. Okay, so then we get a bunch of information here, which I'm sure some of you are like, oh, I know what it means that you can't do a secure string to BSTR to type. I mean, who does that, on a Thursday? My thought was, okay, this is the way this credential is Frankenstein. You're not just going to be able to spit out or reverse the password, because that's what I really care about. I mean, we know who the user is. So my thought was, well, as far as this credential, I don't need to try to decrypt the whole thing. All I really care is about this part, the part in parentheses that makes up the password. So then I just cut out this part. Copy. Let me come over here. Let me come over here to my decrypt script, but let me put just comment this out for a second. This here. So then what I did is I set a variable to this query. So this is going to store a variable called pass that saves the encrypted string just of the password part of this credential forging, right? So just the password part is what I'm going to make a secure string out of. So I'm going to run just that. Okay. And once again, if I say, well, whoops, oh shoot, I'm probably doing this too low. My bad. Shoot, sorry about that. I'm right in the lower third thing. That's kind of annoying. Sorry. Okay. I say like, what is the pass? It's like, hey Brian, it's a secure string. I ain't gonna tell you. So it's like, all right, well, once again, the Google foo is real. Let me run this against just the pass variable that I made. Okay. So my secure string here is only the password of that account. Let's see if that works. And there it was. Super unhackable 777. Not the real password that I found in an engagement. Relax. But it was a monster of a password. Looked almost as bad as that. Looked almost as bad as this, but a little bit shorter. And I was like, could that really be? And I don't actually. I think I do have the account set up, but it's not. It's not functional. I quickly went to Active Directory users and computers, looked for IT admin, looked under member of, and it was a domain admin. And pardon my French, this is a family show. I was very close to sharding myself, because then I went right over to my friend CrackMap exec. You know what I mean? And I typed in, well, maybe I did have it work. It doesn't really need to, right? Because we saw what we came to see. But that's how I got a hold of a domain admin cred. So lessons learned here, right? For pen testers and defenders. Number one, don't make sure if you get any local admin level account, fully exercise that. Look deep into the systems that you have local admin access to, so that you can see, like I said, if you have passed through authentication to important portals like virtualization, backups, and the like, right? And then spend a lot of time. In fact, every pen test, I seem to be spending more and more time on crawling the SMB shares, because there's even in what is thought of as kind of benign deployment and login scripts, I'm seeing more and more either plain text creds or easily decryptable creds, because that internal environment is thought of as trusted, right? Where only employees who work here are running scripts against their machines, and I know this as an IT person too. A lot of times my assumption would be nobody's going to look at the source of this script. It just runs really quick in a DOS box and goes away. Nobody's going to take the time to edit source and pop it open in Notepad and see the creds. Or in this case, nobody's going to take the time to actually try to, pick apart what is really more, security by obfuscation, where you can get in here and tweeze out decrypted passwords. On that note, let me know. I didn't see any other questions come in, so I'm going to wrap up so I can go check on Mrs. 7MS and see if it's time to give her the good pain meds. But if you one question I just have for you all to either share in chat or send to me at 7minsec.com, which I should have mentioned maybe earlier, just to put up as a shameless self promo. If you know from either the offensive or defensive side, if you know the quote unquote secure ways to integrate credentials into PowerShell and PowerShell scripts where they can't be seen and then kind of picked apart, let me know. My one thought, just thinking out loud here with something like this, is that perhaps this would work okay if one piece, like the key file, was in a protected directory that only would work if, maybe that would be it. If a domain admin was running this script, then it would fire because it would have access to aes.key. But we've kind of got both the pieces of key material open to all domain users. So that's kind of the Achilles heel here. But please let me know if you know about that, because it's an oft discussed thing. And I'd love to be able to say, hey, saw what you did here. Here's a different way that still uses PowerShell and doesn't require you to buy some extra fancy tools that'll keep that cred safe from someone finding the plain text. All right. Well, silence is golden, maybe. But thank you so much for spending some time with me this afternoon. I hope you're well. I had told some of you ahead of time about wife surgery and stuff. So I appreciate your thoughts, prayers, and vibes and mojo and all that. So I'm going to go check on her. I hope you have a lovely, blessed rest of your day and week and weekend. And we'll see you next time. All right. All right. Take care and bye-bye. You've been watching or listening to 7-Minute Security, a weekly podcast focused on pen testing, blue teaming, and building a career in security. For more episodes like this, visit 7ms.us. And for information about our consulting services, visit 7minsec.com.